Hey guys, welcome to my Geek Rant. Today I'll be reviewing A New Dawn. Finally, I know. Sorry for my face. It looks crazy right now because I'm going to be shooting a short film where I'm playing a character. I'm even going to get my hair braided. It's going to be nuts. But anyway, to the review. So I got finished reading it a few days ago, actually. I just haven't had time to make a review. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was really solid for the most part. I think it started stronger in the beginning than it ended for a few reasons, which I'll get into, of course. First, I'm going to talk about the characters. So first we have Canon, who is our lead character for the Rebel series. Oh, in fact, let me backtrack just a little bit here. This story was made as a prequel to the Rebel series, which is going to come out, I believe, this October, so next month. And it's also the first official canon novel. We already had our first official canon comic book with Son of Dathomir, which I reviewed already, but this is the first canon novel, which means it has the same canon tier as the movies and the TV shows and all that. So this is kind of an important book because we kind of see, you know, where they're going to lead off with all this stuff. So yeah, first we're introduced to Canon, or we're actually introduced to the Imperials first, but Canon is definitely the main character of this story. He is a former Jedi apprentice. He was the apprentice of Deepa Billaba, believe it or not. So that's the first bit of new canon right there, because from what we know from Shatterpoint is that Deepa was in a coma, but we don't know when she came out of that coma. So if we are still going to be using the old canon, if we're going to use legends, then we could say that all that stuff did happen, but she went into a coma, came back out, was reinstated into the Jedi Order, and, you know, was training Kanan, who actually his name was Caleb Doom. That was before Order 66 went off. So Deepa actually saved him. She held off whatever force was attacking them, and he left, and he was on the run. He got Obi-Wan's message, and for years now he's been on the run, just trying to survive. So he's been doing odd jobs like around factories and other places like that. And now he's on Gorse, where he's manufacturing thorolide, I think is the name of the material, which is used for making Star Destroyers. And that's what brings the whole plot to this story. But in terms of Kanan, he was actually pretty cool. He's kind of like a Han Solo. He's a mix of a Han Solo Jedi character. He's a little bit less sleazy, not sleazy, but he's like kind of a ladies' man. He is still kind of out there for himself. He moves from place to place, never getting too attached to people, which is actually kind of a good point that in the novel there's a passage in which he says that being a Jedi makes him the perfect fugitive, because Jedi, they were trained not to have attachments or not to have passion for anyone, so it's very easy for him to detach himself from people and move place to place rather than being in one place and getting caught. Also, I felt Jackson Miller, he wrote him as a character very well, in the fact that being a Force user is actually very scary. It's scary to be a Force user in this time when this Empire is, you know, attacking anyone or killing anyone who's has any form of Force sensitivity to them. So this whole time Kanan has to be secluded, and he has to hide his powers, but he can't hide from them because it's innate in him. It's a power that is part of him, and he can't hide that all the time. So I thought that was a really good touch to show that these people who have this natural ability have to hide it from themselves, even though it's something that's natural as breathing to them. The only downside I would give to Kanan is that he is a little bit objectified. Usually when you hear about people being objectified, you hear about women being objectified as like sex objects. I felt for Kanan that he kind of fell into that just a little bit. Like every time he talks about Hera or any kind of other female character, he's always talking about, like, you know, how he would like to get with them, or how pretty they are, or he's always kind of like sweet talking and stuff like that. And I think that's done just a little bit too much, to the point where it objectifies him as a typical sleazy man. So I felt like that's the only slight thing I could say that was disappointment to Kanan, the character itself. But this book was actually a meeting for Kanan and Hera, who are actually in the new series Rebels, and they're already, you know, a team. So this is their first meeting, and we see that Hera is there to investigate what's going on with the Empire and what's happening on Gorse and Cinda, which is the name of the moon there. Cinda or Cinda, I'm not sure how they pronounce it. But yeah, she says specifically that she is not there to recruit. She's not there because she wants to build up a rebel alliance to, you know, fight against the Empire, but she's not there to recruit. She's just there to basically do reconnaissance. But it turns into this whole thing where she does end up recruiting Kanan and all that stuff. And it's about how they met. Hera was a pretty cool character. There was a lot of really good female characters. There was like 3 major female characters in the story. Hera being one of them, being the main one. And she was done really well. I felt like we could have spent a little bit more time in her headspace because we don't really know where she's coming from. All we know is that she's there to investigate. She's not there to recruit, but you know, things turn differently and then she has to recruit. But that's pretty much all we know about her so far. Like, we don't really know too much about her past. We know more about Kanan's past because this is mostly a Kanan novel. So eventually they meet up with these 2 individuals. Skelly, who's a war veteran from the Clone Wars, a non-clone veteran. He's just like a bomb specialist. And then we also meet Zeluna, who to me felt like kind of like the Shadow Broker. If you guys played Mass Effect, she kind of felt like Liara to me. And the fact that she actually, her job is to spy on people on Gorse for the Empire. So there's like cameras everywhere, audio devices. That's kind of how she met Skelly, the war veteran, because he was talking about the Empire and that pings on their system, and then they see that and all this stuff goes down. But yeah, I like those 2 characters a lot. I like Skelly especially because no one wanted to listen to him because he's a war veteran and he's crazy, but he had some pretty good ideas, and some of those ideas were right about the Empire. I also like the fact that they were kind of a ragtag group, Hera, Kanan, Skelly, and Zeluna, which is, I feel like that's a very key thing about Star Wars, or at least the feeling of Star Wars, is that you get a big group together that don't necessarily seem like they would work together, but they do. They come together by whatever means and, you know, defeat the enemy. That's what kind of happens here is with, you know, these people who all have different insights. You have this war veteran, this rogue Jedi, this revolutionist, and then this lady who's a spy. You know, like they all have these different things and they come together, which is kind of the same with, like, you know, Luke, Obi-Wan, Leia, Han, Chewie. Like, I feel like that's part of Star Wars, even with like the Knights of the Old Republic or any other property that you would see in Star Wars. That's a key factor, I feel like, for the adventure of Star Wars. So our villain characters, or at least our antagonists, are going to be Rey Sloane, who is a Imperial captain of the Ultimatum Star Destroyer. And then we have Count Vidian, who is her advisor, or kind of an advisor for the Emperor, to make sure that everybody is working efficiently within the Empire and also on the grounds of Gorse and Cinda. At the beginning, I liked Count Vidian a lot because it felt like he was a fully realized character who had, you know, pretty good motivations. Even though he had a short temper and he was killing people and stuff like that, he had, you know, where he was coming from, his headspace was, you know, pretty legit. Like, you know, he wasn't just like this crazy person who, I feel like he kind of went from being this 3-dimensional character and then towards the end kind of divulged into a 2-dimensional villain who was just, you know, ha ha ha, like, you know, mustache twirl, I'm going to defeat you guys, kind of a thing. I mean, it wasn't that bad at all, but his dimensionality definitely tapered off towards the end of the book. And with Sloane, the cool thing about her is that she's just doing her job. She's, you know, working for the Empire. She just came out of the academy. She's kind of young, so she's not really used to the Jedi and the Republic from before. And there's a passage where she says she's excited that there's this new generation of the Empire coming up, and they might be able to run the Empire a little bit better when they get older and they have better positions in the Empire. But yeah, I liked her a lot. I felt like it helps show that everyone in the Empire is not evil. They're just trying to do their jobs, and they're trying to do their jobs well. And they're just in a bad situation with the space that they're in. She's not really a villain, but she definitely is an antagonist to the main characters of the story. But I liked her a lot because she was fully dimensional, and she was that way throughout the whole book. So essentially the plot is the Empire is there to excavate this material called Thurolide, which is used mostly for Star Destroyers and building them because they're trying to build them much faster. And that's kind of the reason why they're there and why Vidian's there, to examine what's going on with the people there and the miners who are there, trying to make them work faster because they have this really big quota they have to meet for the Emperor. So Vidian has this crazy plan to be able to meet this crazy quota. Like, I think the Emperor, or not the Emperor, but this other guy, this Baron, tells the Emperor that, oh, they can work faster, they can get 3 times as much production. So Vidian has to come up with that, and he's like really this like efficient guy who comes up to the challenge, and he finds out this way of how to do it, which I'm not going to give away, but it's basically very detrimental to the planet and the moon. So the main characters are there to basically stop his plans and to, you know, save everybody from this huge destruction that's going to happen. And so that's how the adventure like kind of pans out. what I really liked about this plot and just the book in general is that it really builds out the world. And that's what I liked a lot about the, previous EU or Legends now, is that, or the novels in general, it expands our knowledge of Star Wars. And I feel like we got more insights into some of the nuances of the Empire, how they came up, what happened to the Republic, how people are affected by it and how they interact with it. So that was really good for it. And the plot was pretty good. Like I said, at the beginning, it started off really strong, I felt like, when everybody was like meeting each other. But then once the plot had a specific goal, I felt like it tapered off just a little bit, just in terms of not the quality was there consistently throughout, but I felt like the plot was it got two-dimensional at the end, and it was about like, the villains versus the heroes, and it wasn't really what I felt like it was going to be about at the beginning, where it was like, it's all gray area. It became more black and white towards the end, which I guess is what you kind of have to do, and it felt kind of rushed too at the end, like the plot, and there was less downtime once you get through it. And while it does end with a happy ending, I guess, obviously, because you have to know that they're going to survive through the next book or the next series because they're in the Rebels TV series, it still ends up being an Empire victory. Like, even though the heroes win, the Empire wins as well. And if you read the book, you'll see what I'm talking about. Like, it's a victory for both parties because we have all these heroes meet and they're gonna do what they're gonna do later on in the movies, and then you have the Empire who still pretty much meets their goals, and so they win as well. So it's kind of like a double win, which is good, because most times I feel like the Clone Wars TV series, what happened a lot is that it was too many good guys victories or too many bad guy victories, like the CIS is losing or the Republic is winning, but this is kind of like a double win or double lose, however you look at it. But yeah, overall, the book was a very solid read. I'm actually going to start doing ratings for the books, or the reviews that I do. So for this one in particular, I'm going to give it a solid one-time read, which is going to be on a scale, which I guess I'll explain in my description box, or you guys will get more familiar with it when I do more reviews. But yeah, it's a solid read. I would recommend it, especially if you guys are into Star Wars, which of course you guys are, especially if you guys are into Rebels or are going to watch Rebels. It's the first canon novel, so it's kind of an important thing for the Star Wars lore. But yeah, get a look. It's not a bad book at all. It's an easy enough read. You'll finish it in about a few days. I finished it in about 4 days. But yeah, I recommend it. So that's it. See you guys on the next one. Peace, love, and may the Force be with you. Always.
This round comes much closer than the previous two. In lightsaber to lightsaber combat, both combatants utilized Juyo for their offense, though I would say Maul was more successful in its use. Continuing
and most recently, Star Wars: A New Dawn. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the one, the only, John Jackson Miller.
Hey, how's it going?
Alright, cool. So you're Hagrid, I am the boy who lived. So I cheated a little bit. I played last night just to see how to play.
Oh